we get out of all this? What are the solutions going forward?
I think, Trevor, first and foremost, we need to be realistic in this conversation, because when we ask for dialogue, we are basically trying to say there are two sides that have had a stalemate, and they need to talk themselves out of that. That is not the situation right now. The situation is there are certain issues that Kenyans are raising. And I think how we get out of here, first of all, to you, the fourth estate, the media, you must also revise the framing of this conversation, because I have been watching the news about the protest in Kenya. If you watch CNN, they are reporting to you that there's protests in Kenya against high taxation. If you watch Al Jazeera, they're telling you there is protests against a finance bill that proposes high taxation. If you watch BBC, they're telling you there is protests in Kenya against high taxation. But when you come to local media, they tell you Azimio protests. You know, that's where we're losing the conversation, because we are narrowing this bigger conversation to a political party. I have not had issues that Azimio has raised in relation to the previous election in these protests. That is not the question. And we're seeing the president talking about that and saying we are not going to have handshake with anyone. Actually, we do not want, because the conversation right now, the kind of protests we are having is they are legit issues that Kenyans are raising. So we begin from there by actually framing this conversation the way it should be. So once we frame it the way it should be, then it acquires the necessary attention that it deserves. Number two, we have to be very honest. If you look at the regime that is leading the country today, it was founded on a package of lies, and it has been very difficult to get out of those lies. So we have reached a place where maybe the only honest thing about the president is his name. That's the only honest thing. So we have to come back to where we are. And what did you tell Kenyans? And where are we? There are imperatives like high cost of living. We recognize that there is a high cost of living and it's cutting across the globe. But tell us, what are you doing towards it? When I go home and there is no supper, I should be able to explain to my family, well, we do not have today, but what are we doing? Are we going to take tea and sleep? Or I cannot just go and sit in the court and keep quiet. That's where we are as a country. So citizens are progressively speaking because the space is so silent. If you look at the cabinet, I think the president could also just reshuffle that cabinet, because when we had maybe the regime of Mwai Kibaki, we had a very particular cabinet ministers that you could single out and say, this one has done this, and in a period of like 3 months. This cabinet, even if you use an electron microscope and try to find out a minister who is working, you can't find none. You know, so what are we? Because that is the engine that drives the country. So if you have people that are sitting there, all they do is insult others on social media and become a public shame, and they are not even regretting that. So where are we heading as a nation? Number three, the president must be very honest about the cost of living and what he's going to do about it. Because that is where we are right now. That is what is pressing pushing us to the brink. So if he doesn't address that, and he sent us everything to Raila Odinga, then we lose the conversation. So as we start from maybe today, we need to be asking ourselves, what are those things? And then go back to the Constitution, implement the Constitution. We cannot cherry pick the Constitution and choose what to implement and what not to implement. Right now we have a legislator in Parliament who is now going to, has tabled a bill to review Section 37 of the Article 37 of the Constitution. Is that really important today? Our politicians need to understand, today you may be on the right side of government, but tomorrow things might change, and you need that Article 37 to express yourself. What we are seeing today is a continuous clawing back of gains that we have made progressively in the Constitution, and we have gotten those gains out of pain. And then finally, if government does not listen to all these things that Kenyans are saying, can we have mandamano even every day?
All right, let's bring up some of your feedback. We're running out of time here. Let's see your feedback as we close.